Hi, this is Cooking with Culture, behind the scenes edition. My name is Linda Corbell, and I'm the Education and Training teacher at Delray High School in the CTE department. And to my right is...
Hi, I'm Chef Cortez. I teach culinary arts and restaurant management at the high school. I'm also the FCCLA culinary sponsor or advisor.
And to my left...
My name is Mr. Hurtado, or Mr. Hurtado. I teach the principles of AV at the freshman campus, and
we're here today to evaluate and look back and reflect on the Cooking with Culture project that we put together for our foundation grant. And a little background on the foundation grant. In the years that it has been out there for us to access, and it's a wonderful program. Mostly the teachers that because we would go to the award ceremonies or the beginning of the school ceremonies when they were bestowed, and we would see the teachers that were getting them. And a lot of it was more elementary and middle school, but there was some high school teachers, but mostly in core area. So looking at that, because of Chef Cortez's inspiration and thought and Mr. Hurtado's talent, and don't know what I could do, but anyway, we put together an application, and we're the first CTE group to get it, and we are planning to continue it because it's been a lot of fun and we think we can do a lot better. And that's where we are today, to look back at what we've done, what we could do, and reflect and evaluate our lessons that we've taught our students in this innovative project. So we're going to do this in a couple of different ways. So we're going to give you some information about what we thought we were going to do and what we actually implemented, and then what we would like to do in the future. So we're going to just kind of talk about what happened, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. So we're taking a break.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Lopez, and I'm the ambassador for culinary arts. Culinary arts is the arts of cooking. From this experience, I have learned a lot of things. We learned from making fresh pasta, deboning chicken, and using every part of the chicken. The main thing we learn about is how far the plate has to be from the edge of the table, how far the spoon, the utensils have to be away from the dish. It's all attention to detail. It's one of the great experiences I have experienced this year. And the benefits of joining this is because it gets you ready for a business, gets you ready to be in the food industry. Start cooking, start interacting with other people, basically. The classes you have to take starts off with the principles of hospitality and tourism, then you go into restaurant management, and then your last 2 years you do culinary arts.
Thanks for coming back with us. Today we're at the Philip Mall Kitchen, this wonderful gem of a place at the Firehouse in beautiful downtown Del Rio. And it was a place that was just waiting to happen for kids in our community, kids at our school. And here we are talking to you about Cooking with Culture and where this project will go and where it was. One of the things that we wanted to discuss was also when we did this almost a year ago, the application, we were sitting around talking and working on our curriculum, and Chef Cortez, so this is all his fault, brought the application in and started to just kind of brainstorm, and it just went from his ideas to what I could contribute, and then how Mr. Hurtado's talents and skills and students could contribute. And so I'll let Chef Cortez kind of give you a little bit more about Cooking with Culture.
Well, I think the whole concept for Cooking with Culture for me personally started about 4 years ago when I was working in a completely other district. I was brought up with the opportunity to create a cooking show and to kind of bring a little bit of the core curriculum of what students were learning and integrating, cooking. And at the time, I was just a cafeteria lady. And so, I started brainstorming, and I've for years tried to bring this back to the school setting. And it's just a blessing that I've been here in Del Rio and, being able to work here at the Philip Mall Kitchen, working with, the Casa de la Cultura and the Del Rio Parks Foundation, kind of started saying, what can we do to bring our kids into this, to utilize all the resources we have? And being a part of the CTE department really gives us a lot of opportunity. And so as I sat down and started talking with, Mr. Gonzalez, our director, and with Ms. Corbell, Mr. Hurtado, I said, why don't we make a cooking show? We can integrate different things that the kids see on TV, from Chopped to Iron Chef to The Chew, do like a talk show. And all of a sudden, the possibilities were endless. And little by little, we just started piecing it together, seeing where the teaks fit, what we could do as educators to get students involved. And I think we came out with a good product overall.
I think so too. And when we were initially looking at what contributions each of our areas could make, we were, kind of devising and writing and putting the words on the application. And now we see what we've done, and we know the words that we've put. We know what we initially wanted to do, but we know where we went, and where we went was a little different than where we were starting from. So I'll tell you a little bit about each one of our areas and how it contributed when we come back in a few minutes. So stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Matthew.
And I'm David.
And today we're going to show you how to properly wash your dishes using a thick apartment sink. In the first section, we're going to have hot soapy water, normally around 110 degrees Fahrenheit, as illustrated in red. And what you're going to want to do is, while you're using the hot soapy water section, you're going to want to scrape off all the food from your dish, and you want to put it in the rinse section. The proper amount of dish soap is 2 ounces per gallon.
When you're rinsing your dishes, you want to use a water that is at room temperature, which will be demonstrated with this clear water. And what you do in this section is you basically rinse off all the soap that you got from the washing station. And when you're washing it, basically that's what you're doing, and you're preparing your dishes to be sanitized.
Now, our sanitizing liquid is illustrated in blue. And to sanitize your dishes, what we're going to do is leave your dishes in the sanitizing liquid for a good couple seconds. The right amount of sanitizing is 1 tab per gallon. After a couple seconds have been up, you want to leave them out to air dry your dishes, and that's how you properly wash your dishes using a big apartment sink. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're back, and Mr. Hurtado is going to talk to you a little bit about his initial ideas and what he thought and conceived about what the project would be like from his end, the video tech end.
Yes, so, when Mr. Chef Cortez came and asked me, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I didn't really have the whole notion or the whole picture of what we were going to do. So I spoke to the other AV teachers, Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Guanajuato, and see what we could do. And they were really helpful in letting me borrow equipment and some of the advanced students to help us film. So at the beginning, it was, we were discussing what we were going to do. We had this idea in our head, but once we got into production of the actual show, we realized, okay, it's going to take a lot more than just one camera and or several students. So then we had to really go into the whole pre-production. We were talking about, okay, let's develop a script, the ideas in order, organization, and all those things. And once we really got into the shows later on, we got into the hang of it. But at the beginning, it was a little bit challenging, to be honest. But now I think we're ready to move on and continue to do these shows.
I think there was a lot of unknowns.
Yes.
So a lot of
A lot of
unknowns.
unknowns.
And when we come back, I'll tell you a little bit about how some of the other pieces fit together, and then we'll talk about where we see the program going.
Hey Matt, what are you doing?
I was about to cut something.
You're holding the knife wrong. Let me show you how.
Here you go.
Thank you. So first, you want to place a damp rag on your table to secure your cutting board. Then, to properly hold the knife, you want to pinch the blade at the end, then wrap the rest of your fingers around the handle. When you're holding your food item, you want to use a tiger's palm, which is like this. Then you're going to use a rocking motion back and forth to cut your food. And to hand your knife over to somebody else, you pinch the handle here and you hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're back, and we would like to go over some of the things that each of us have contributed. We heard from Chef Cortez, who had some of the big ideas and some of the ideas, the inspiration for this project, and then how Mr. Hurtado was asked and stepped up to the plate to do this and wrote the application with us. Now, for the education and training and FCCLA, which was more of where the kids came from, and what I was to contribute, some of the tasks that were going to be on the FCCLA and education and training program were to do some of the research, some of the visuals, and then also to get the students involved that would be doing some of the actual talking and hosting, and as it turned out, some of the competition, which FCCLA kids are very well versed in competitiveness. They love to compete, they like prizes, and you get them around food and they're happy. So that was one of some of the things that ended up happening. So I think one of the things when we wrote the application, we have all these grand ideas, but then when it comes down to, as Mr. Hurtado, the nuts and bolts, there was just a lot of unknowns. We planned for things, and then things just didn't quite turn out the way we thought. So we're going to talk a little bit about those first few organizational meetings that some of us couldn't make, and then also getting the kids to do some of the research on their own time for the tamalada, so the tamale episode. So we'll be right back with you on that, and then we'll talk some more about cooking with culture.
My name is Matthew Desjardins, and today we'll be making a vinaigrette. Vinaigrettes are really good with your salads, your marinades, and your mushrooms. To start off making a vinaigrette, you want to add your dry ingredients, which should be 1/2 tablespoon of oregano, 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder, 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 ounce of salt, teaspoon of salt, and then give it a nice little, so it can all balance out. And now we're going to add our acidic liquids, which is going to be 2 ounces of red wine vinegar, 1 ounce of lemon juice, and then we're going to whisk until it's all dissolved. Okay, now that we've whisked, we're going to add our olive oil for taste, and then we're going to whisk it in. Now I'm going to taste and see if we need more olive oil. So it looks like you use a little bit more olive oil, so I'm adding just a little bit. Taste just to make sure I made it good enough. Tastes pretty good.
Okay, so we're back with Cooking with Culture. And in talking together and meeting in the fall about our timelines and trying to stick to our goals of the program so that we could meet the foundation grant requirements, we started to find out that some of this was just going to be a little different than what we initially planned. So, Chef Cortez, tell us a little bit about your ideas about how this was going to be organized first.
Well, in my head, the first thing that came to mind was, let's do an episode like The Chew or like the old school Martin Yan. If Yan can cook, so can you. Where we start out with initial introduction of a meal, or a cooking item or whatever. And from there, that's what our main focus we wanted it to be. Our first episode was going to be just introducing a particular topic.
And what better topic or food than tamales? So we love tamales.
And so tamales was our first episode. And what I really wanted to capture in that, because I'm a history buff, was, bringing in the historical and cultural differences that we see of the tamale all over the world. I mean, we don't just, see it here on the border. We don't just see it in Mexico. I used to work for a company that would ship tamales to Sweden and Switzerland every year. And so people around the world know about this this delicacy. I mean, it is a Mexican delicacy, and it's a treat for us to have it. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I kind of saw the episode going. And then from there, I wanted to move into, interviews with parents and with local people that sell tamales, and just to show where the economics of it were, because historically the tamal was made for preservation, for warriors to carry with them into battle. And I wanted, the people of Del Rio to actually see this and capture it. And eventually, the last episode was supposed to be a tamalada. The last episode was to be a tamalada, where we were going to invite people from the community to come out and participate with us. And I just think, in my mind, everything was going to work out perfectly. Unfortunately,
in all of our minds.
In all of our minds, yeah.
And unfortunately, due to not only our own schedules but our student schedules, and we have very, very active kids here at the high school that are involved in football, band, choir, all kinds of sports. So we ran into some issues in getting the film crew, getting the researchers, getting the kids that were going to actually be our spokespeople for this. Those are some of the issues that we ran into. We also ran into just timing issues with testing, with kids going off on vacations. So it made it very difficult for us to stick to our timeline. Not to mention, the financials. Some of the money got moved to a different account. We had to wait for it to become available. And overall, it was just a task to get our first season done. And I think those were things that we learned from in our second season, where we progressed into the competition series. And it just gave us a lot of possibilities that I think we're able to carry on into the future.
Oh, yes.
And on the technical end, Mr. Hurtado, we had... we were doing this where we work, obviously, because where the kids are is where we do this. So we ran into some logistical issues and space issues. So, Mr. Hurtado, just tell us a little bit about, setting all this up all the time.
Yes. So in the perfect world, I mean, we would have our studio, the perfect lighting. I mean, all the equipment.
You just walk in and it's done.
Yes, and a lot of the things that people don't know is that in the show, for example, in The Chew, it's a 1 hour show, but it actually takes about 9 to 10 hours to film. So in all the other cooking shows as well, I mean, it takes a lot more time. So at first, like Mr. Chef Cortez and Ms. Cabrera were saying, like, oh, no, it's going to be going like this. And okay, so, but once we started filming and then, okay, no, we have to reshoot this. And then because of the time allotted to the students and our schedule, a lot of the times we couldn't reshoot everything we wanted. So we kind of had to go with okay. So we'll take that, and but I'm really glad that the students that initially helped us were there because my students, like I said, I mean, I teach the principal's class, so they weren't ready at the time to film. They were still learning some of the basics. So that's why I had to get the advanced students to help out from Ms. Guanajuato and Mr. Rodriguez. But eventually, I was really happy that my students stepped up, and for the second season, we used them. The majority of the students used to film were my students. And so, I mean, a lot of that has to do with lighting, with audio, recording the audio, the cameras. And then, since we had to use the room, the culinary room, the lighting is not the best. So that presented some challenges.
There's not enough space.
Oh, yeah, not enough space. But that was the only place that had enough stoves and all those things for the students to use. And
it all had to be done after hours because it's still a functioning classroom.
Yeah, I know the latest that I went home was like around 8 o'clock at night, and I know they went even later to their homes. So it took work, and but we were able to pull it out. So and I'm pretty sure that this coming school year we're going to do a lot better.
Yeah.
Well, and from my end, or with the end with my students, there was no lack of talent. We had kids that really wanted to stand in front of a camera for however long we wanted them to do it. The only thing they didn't really want to do was the research. So, you know, one of the things that I noticed was during the filming was that they were doing the research as they were standing there filming, and so they were waiting for their little page on their phones to come up. So everything is instant, but not that instant anymore. So the talent that the kids have to do this was never an issue. We have extremely talented and resourceful kids, and as far as what we were willing to give it, we had no problem there. So I think that in the future, you know, there's just different ways that we could do it. So the tamalada came to be, and it was interesting. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the tamalada and using the Casa de la Cultura and our audience and all those different types of tamales that we all learned about. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that with Chef Cortez. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Lopez, and today I'm going to be showing you a French knife skill that most famous French restaurants use. The knife skill is called fluting. Fluting is a process where you take half crescent moons off a mushroom, leaving one and taking one off, doing it in a pattern. This gives it a fan illusion, and it also gives it a physical appearance where it looks appetizing to you, your customers, or whoever you're serving. And what it does, this physical appearance, it makes sauces, dressings, and vinaigrettes get into the mushroom, giving it a better taste. So how it goes, you get your mushroom and your paring knife. You go cut half crescent moons, taking one off and taking one off. And you may want to take your time. First beginners, it's kind of difficult, had a hard time, but after a while you get a hang of it, you know? And you could go from different size crescent moons, from either big or small, whatever you prefer. So that's your fluted mushroom, and a little extra thing that you want to do, you may want to cut off the bottom of it so it's even, I would say. There you go, that's your fluted mushroom. And over here I have some more done, and these would be your fluted mushrooms right here.
Hey Eddie.
Hey man.
You want some vinaigrette with your mushrooms?
That would go really good with them, you know? Well, thank you for watching, and hope you guys join us next time on our quick kitchen tips.
Okay, so we're back, and we have been talking about our first season of Cooking with Culture and some of the little challenges that we faced in different ways. So we initially had a kind of like an informative show about tamales, the history, and the kids were doing the research, and we had the talent, and they were filming, and everybody understood that it was going to take some time to film a 15 to 20 minute segment, and then they did some research, but the technology just didn't cooperate with us that much. So initially we wanted it to be more of a family, historical, and some of the kids had stories as they were standing there with their cell phones doing some of the research while we were filming. But that some of those videos that they filmed about their grandmothers and abuelitas doing tamales just didn't really come to fruition when we needed the tape. So some of it was time constraints, some of it was technology. But we filmed our Cooking with Culture, and we had a layout of all of the wonderful spices and all the different ingredients. And so the kids did learn more about that it's not just a tamale. It represented food from, it had the historical part of it, and that it was just interesting to learn more about this wonderful food that we have, that we consider, it's just nothing to us, but it's a delicacy to so many others. And there are so many different ways you can prepare tamales, which brings us to our Casa de la Cultura setup for a how-to on tamales with our studio audience. And so, Chef, tell us a little bit about how that went.
Wow. Well, it was a long process to begin with. I mean, it took, getting out there and actually talking to the people that could allow us to work there. One of them being Lupita de la Paz, who's the director down there at the Casa de la Cultura. But, the timing was just really wrong for us. It was like right around the Christmas season where tamaladas are happening everywhere,
And initially we were thinking that would be really great, but it just wasn't.
It turns out, people, that vacation in certain spots at certain times of the year. Well, filming a TV show about a particular time of year should be filmed in summer and not during winter.
Kind of like fashion shows. Everything's done a season ahead of time.
And so we ran into some issues, but Lupita was willing to open up her kitchen to us there at the casa. And so once we had that confirmation, a lot of stuff just happened really fast. I was able to take this whole tamale episode and bring it into the classroom, and to bring the kids to understand a little bit about the different aspects of cooking. And I think that's one of the things that I love so much about it, is that cooking transcends not just education or history. I mean, it transcends everything. It's life in general, because it's the foundations of what we need to survive. And these kids saw that from making the masa to making the sauce that we put into our pork and our chicken, to seeing the different types of tamales. We made pork tamal, we made chicken, vegetarian, we made sweet tamales.
I think that was the one that really caught a lot of people, especially the kids' attention, because they're just used to certain types. But the sweet tamale, I know they've seen some, but some of the stuff, I know. Some of the ingredients that went into the sweet tamales, even I, as a tamale person that I am, I was surprised. But I really think that one of the things that came of it was that the kids learned a lot from that, but there was no lack of participation. The kids wanted to be there. They wanted to be at the center of it all, and they were excited about filming, about cooking, about tamales. It didn't matter what we were doing. They were excited, and that's what to me is one of the takeaways from this project that we did. And it is just a wonderful thing that we have this foundation that gives these grants to teachers like us who are just trying to get kids excited about learning. And yes, it took effort to go to different places, like the Casa de la Cultura, and to access people in our community that we've had so much cooperation. I mean, it's just been great. Even though we had some difficulties with some of the money being where it needed to be, that got taken care of with wonderful people at our office, like Olga Resendes. And then, the shopping and all of that stuff that just, truly behind the scenes, behind the scenes. But there was no lack of participation or encouragement, especially from our staff members who came came to support us in the shows. So we tasted sweet tamales, we tasted spicy tamales. The kids learned how to make them. We had, and all of this experience for the kids, the practical experience of making something that is so common to them, but once you make it, it's so different. You know, some of these kids they mostly buy them, or they order them from a lady that's making them, or somebody, and even the machine ones, but they were making them.
No, and you know, to keep it authentic, you know, we didn't have recipes. We were making it, you know, the same way that grandma makes it, that my tias make it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was all by sight. So it was one of those things where, you know, I'm at Walmart at, you know, 4:30, 5 in the morning, and you know, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm gonna make this many tamales. I need how much? And I'm trying to think in my head, how many puños is this gonna be of my grandma's, you know?
Yeah.
So I would just buy, you know, a 25-pound bag, and we ended up using every little bit of ingredient that we had. Not one thing went to waste. And the beautiful thing about it is that it is something that those kids were able to share not only with, you know, their friends and with their teachers, but there was enough for them to take home to their families to show them what it really was that they did, that what they did had value. What do you think, Mr. H?
Well, the first show, like we were talking about, I mean, it was a learning experience, and then the second show, my background is photography and graphic design and videography, but being a person that, you know what, it's not going to be only about me, and I wanted this to be the best that it could be. I spoke to Mr. Rodriguez because I know he has some experience with filming some shows before. So I got him involved. I got some of his students involved, and so that helped a lot. I mean, we had about 4 cameras going, 5 different cameras going at the same time, lighting. So the good thing is that even though it was an audience present, we were able to like pause and cut and okay, let's do this and okay, let's redo this. But it was that again was another learning experience. So it's been it's been challenging, but at the same time it's been educational, and the kids got to experience that too, because a lot of them they get to film their own little their videos or movies, music videos and stuff like that, but they never really got involved in anything other than a large show like that or a production like that. So that was something good. Yes.
You know, initially we wrote the grant and we were talking about a show, and we're gonna film and this and that. It was a production.
Yep.
So when we come back, we're gonna talk about our second season and that production. So stay with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Gloria Peña and I'm the CT Ambassador for Audio and Video Technology. In the Audio Video Technology class, students learn how to work with cameras, computers, and advanced editing software. We also produce and host 2 weekly shows for the school, one being IRM, a comedic sketch show, and Status Update, a news broadcasting system. At the end of this course, students also earn certifications in Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro. Students can also join the Media Tech Club, where they will also learn how to work with cameras, computers, and advanced editing softwares. Students in this course also get to participate in various competitions, such as film festivals that are hosted around the area.
Okay, we're back with Cooking with Culture, and I just kind of want to focus on a word that Chef Cortez said a little while ago, and that was authentic. And so as a education and training instructor, we focus a lot on authentic assessments and authentic learning, and there was nothing more authentic than what we did. Not just learning about the tamales and what the history was behind and how different they are, but also getting the kids in there to do some of these things, from the video end to the research end, to the standing and presenting, to the cooking end. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about Cooking with Culture Season 2, which was really I kind of thought it was like the big thing. It was the
Yes.
big thing. So when we were trying to organize it, that was where we had some issues now in the spring semester because the kids are just so busy. So we had some difficulties in getting some of the kids to commit to being some of the cooks. We didn't have any difficulty in getting kids to commit to be the hosts. So we had a whole bunch of kids that wanted to be hosts and be in front of the camera with a mic. So, and I know what that feels like because I love being in a mic. So tell us a little bit about the cooking and getting the competitors and how that all worked out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we were focusing on in our first episode, or first season, was, getting all of that together and bringing out the history. And this time around, it was more volume. We wanted more people. We wanted more, set designers. We wanted more judges. We wanted more contact with people. And so, after getting a little bit of feedback from some of our colleagues, that didn't get the concept of our first season, I think we really had to jazz it up, to bring something else. And I said, you know what? Let's just be competitive. Let's let our kids compete on a different level. And in order for that to happen, we had to find cooks, we had to find judges, we had to find, people, more than one videographer, more than one audience member. And so it was something that we reached out to a bunch of different people on our campus and in our community. I mean, we brought in people from the newspaper, we brought in people from
administration.
Yeah, we had a lot of people and family members that came out to support
parents,
their kids.
family.
And we decided to do it. We were going to do 4 episodes, which meant I needed 16 cooks. We needed, anywhere from 15 to 20 judges total. We needed, audience members.
Production.
Yes, a lot of people. And so we opened it up to announcements in the mornings at the school. We opened it up to announcements during our meetings, whichever they were. And just that whole networking that we went through, and our students went through, trying to find the right people to fill those spots.
We had to be creative. We had to be super creative. There wasn't a lot of problems with getting some of the kids. It was just the consistency. So we had to, and then, kids are kids. They're not aware sometimes of all of the timelines they have, and things that come up, and things did come up. So during the busiest time of the year, we did this because as FCCLA advisors, both of us, we were busy competing, and of course we have testing, and we have families of our own that we have to spend time with. But it kind of started to become this big snow, big thing, and the kids caught on, and it as much work as it was, you guys, I think it was a lot of fun. I mean, I know from my end, of course, I'm sweeping in, but my kids were there.
Yes.
So, whatever we could get done, and we did it. And I think the 4 competitive shows were so wonderful, and what they did with the food, even Bob to this day still talks about, he goes, I've never eaten tofu that many ways. But
that was exciting.
so that was chef's creativity with the menus, the cooking show. Talk a little bit about that, chef.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed about our kids is that they're not used to venturing out. I mean, their breakfast for a lot of them is a bag of Takis or hot Cheetos, maybe a fruit or a taco. But, so I said, well, what's one of the things that we can do to branch out? And I think in our planning meetings was some of the stuff that we came up with, and we obviously brought in some things that we knew they were going to do well with. We brought in pork, we brought in chicken. I brought in ramen noodles, but I took away the
Cornish
spice pack,
hen, tofu.
Yeah, so we brought in some things that they maybe hadn't seen, but there's traditional, applications that they can bring to it. And these kids
dried apricots.
Yes. These kids just,
What do you do with a dried apricot? Well,
turn it into a smoothie.
Exactly,
Yeah. Yep.
exactly. Our
You know,
kids wowed
a
us.
glaze, wow.
They wowed us, even though they, and I kept thinking, wow, these kids really haven't. Some of them haven't had a lot of food experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just talking about the food part. We'll talk about the technical part
Yep.
in a minute. But they haven't had a lot of food experiences. So when Chef put out the menu and the items that they had to cook in a certain amount of time, and then the judges were allowed to get up and go see what they were doing, never mind that they had skills in cooking or no skills in cooking. Some of these kids just said, I'll do it. And so we said, yes, do it. They were faced with food items that some of them had never seen and called like the little lettuce. Brussels sprout.
Brussels sprouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one.
And those are things that I think a lot of our kids haven't experienced, and I know that as a culture we're trying to introduce them to. And I thought this medium that we went through and that we put together, just it gave us so many opportunities to really truly teach them a life lesson, something that they can take and something that they can grow from. Not to mention the creative aspect. I mean, I know Mr. H, as an artist, you have to say, wow, what did these kids really do to step out of that box?
Yeah.
And when we come back, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Mr. Hurtado is going to tell us a little bit more about the logistics, the setup, how long it really takes to do a production of 30 to 40 minutes, even though they cook that long. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then you'll have our last reflections about our cooking with culture.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Lopez, and I'm the ambassador for Culinary Arts. Culinary Arts is the arts of cooking. From this experience, I have learned a lot of things. We learned from making fresh pasta, deboning chicken, and using every part of the chicken. The main thing we learn about is how far the plate has to be from the edge of the table, how far the spoon, the utensils have to be away from the dish. It's all attention to detail. It's one of the great experiences I have experienced this year. And the benefits of joining this is because it gets you ready for a business. Gets you ready to get you ready to be in the food industry. Start cooking, start interacting with other people, basically. The classes you have to take starts off with the principles of hospitality and tourism, then you go into restaurant management, and then your last 2 years you do culinary arts.
We're back, and we've been talking a little bit about our Cooking with Culture Season 2 and some of the wonderful things that happened. And so Chef Cortez was the genius behind the different menu items and the challenge of making something with nothing in 45 minutes and foods that these kids had never really seen before in some cases, right? And so as far as the education and training part, there was some students that from the FCCLA and education training that were actual cook competitors. So we made some signs so that the kids knew. We had some visual images, and we had some of the talent that was doing the hosting. So we were all involved, but I will say that a lot of the responsibility was on both of my coworkers' shoulders. But and talking about that, Mr. Hurtado, tell us a little bit about some of the limitations and some of the difficulties we had in filming the production in the kitchen.
Well,
because it isn't a culinary kitchen, it's a kitchen.
Oh yeah, in the large production, you have the producer, you have directors, you have camera people just specifically in charge of lighting and audio. This time around, we had to 2-3 people doing everything. So it was again, like I said before, it was a challenge. But I'm really glad that the students that helped out really stepped up. And there was one episode, I believe it was episode 2. Where because of the time, we were up there until 6. We started filming until close to 6. So some of the students that were going to help out only helped out for a few minutes. So one of the students that really helped that day and all the other shows was Gloria.
She was amazing.
Yes,
Talented.
And so I told her, okay, you're gonna take care of that, and I'm gonna be filming all these because we had to film the different stations, getting all the action, and at the same time getting the expression or the response from the reactions from the judges and the audience. So all of that going on and stuff like that. So, I mean, we're shooting to make the shows for about 15 minutes long, and we were filming for about 4 hours. So yeah, a 15-minute show, we filmed 4 hours. Getting some things back, and I'm sure we kind of missed some stuff, but we made it work. And like I said, I mean, I really appreciate Isela, Jimena, Zeke, and Gloria for really helping out and stepping up and helping us out, because not only did they help film, but Gloria was also a cook and a competitor, and Jimena was also a cook in one of the shows.
And we also, need to consider that this was more departmental. Like,
yes.
you accessed your department, we accessed ours, and we've always been very proud of our CTE department, and rightly so. And that came through like so evident that we work together well. We see that CTE is a lot more than just the classroom, and we were able to do that. The CTSO is part of that. And then that we had the foundation to be able to allow us to do some of these innovative things and teach some of our kids some things that we just don't have the time to do in a 45-minute period. We're able to do that practically, like hands-on. There we were doing a production. Okay, now do this, and it was in the moment. Not even though we made the plan in the grant application. We're looking at it now, and it was like it was very in the moment.
Yeah,
so much of it.
We had to think on the spot.
The moment.
We had to transition.
Oh yeah.
And at that moment,
in the moment.
Is this the teak that we mentioned
I
we were going
to? Are we coming?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it turns out,
sometimes
it's even more advanced.
Oh,
it's stuff that these kids,
so much more.
A lot more.
College people were doing, and I think that's one of the best.
It may
things
not
about,
look good, but it was.
Oh yeah. I think that's one of the best things about our program and our subject matter that we teach is that. Essentially, the classroom can be anywhere, and that's.
And you kept saying that about that. I think that was something that I heard you say over and over. It can be anywhere, and we really did try to utilize a lot of different places in our community and different people. So I thought that was really something that we may not have planned for, but we ended up achieving.
And I think that's one of the things that Del Rio wants to see is that our classrooms and our kids' learning isn't just confined to four walls. And I think as we progress,
we see that with FCCLA all the time.
Definitely, as we progress in this project and maybe hopefully future projects of the same magnitude, that other teachers find inspiration and extend their teachings beyond the classroom. And it's just been a blessing just to be able to see some of these students grow from where they were last semester to where they are now.
Exactly.
And now we're tasked with the ability to keep that fire going. You
guys, are we going to do this again?
I think so.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
We're going to do it again.
At least one more round.
Yes.
But I think that we're definitely going to. I mean, I teach education, so the end of the lesson is always the evaluation, the closure.
Yes.
What's a takeaway? And my takeaway from this was that this was certainly a lot of work, but a lot of fun, and just a really unique way of taking a subject matter and doing it in a different way. I mean, just like Chef said, authentic. Taking a subject matter and actually, more hands-on than any hands-on has ever been. And our kids consistently tell us that when we ask them at the end of the year, what did you like about our classes, in the evaluations, they always talk about hands-on activities because they just want to be up and around. Now, it takes a lot of guidance to do that. So as we were laying out the plans, what we laid out for this project and production somehow just kind of didn't really, it was like we were saying, in the moment. So Chef, let's talk a little bit about your aspect or your takeaway from the Cooking with Culture.
Yeah, I think conceptually everything, was gonna pan out right. And one of the things that I always teach my students is, you always have to taste your product before you serve it. And I think that's one of the things where at the beginning we kind of forgot. I mean, how do you taste your own video, right? But the reality is I mean, we went out there and we seek the feedback we needed. We talked to our kids. We kind of saw the cues of what was going on, and I think it just took on a form on its own. I think my biggest thing is it's always going to be the end result. It doesn't always matter where you start. And one of the things that I want to see for the future is, I want to extend this to a younger demographic. To
I agree.
The junior
I
high
agree.
kids.
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
Yeah.
See what they can do to get them, get that fire lit, because part of our program in CTE starts out at the middle school area. Let's get them, excited. Let's get them ready for what the future has to bring. Some of the things that I've talked to with Mr. H and Mr. Bell here is just, what else can we do? I mean, there's always going to be competitions. There's always going to be, cooking shows or talking shows, talk shows about food. But what else can we do? Mr. H, what's some of your input that you have?
Well, I mean, just reflecting back on the whole process of filming and production, and I mean, I can see that we got better and better as on each episode.
Especially with that fourth show,
Yeah,
even though
the
that was
fifth,
like the
it was-
crowning moment,
Yeah.
it really did run a
Grand
lot
Champion episode.
smoothly.
Yes.
It was more streamlined. It was, the time we used it better.
Yes. Yeah, and we had a much larger audience that time. So, like I said, I mean, we had to take care of the audience and the judges and, I mean, all the people involved. And so, but one of the things I know we've talked about is continuing to do this to get the students involved. And it actually kind of changed my view on how I'm going to teach next school year, just because I want to make the students,
Absolutely.
I mean, learn a lot more, and because I know they can do it. From what I saw, I was like, you know what? Well, these students can do a lot more than I thought that they could. So that's I'm going to change
High
a little.
expectation.
Oh yes, I'm going to change that. So I mean, hopefully next school year and the next projects that we do, I mean, we're going to expand and do a lot more involved the community, and of course highlight our different departments and working together.
Right.
Because I think a lot of the teachers that get the grants, I mean, they work in their own departments, but I think we did a really good job
I
working
think we
together.
did too. Bringing all of us, unlikely, well, we're more family consumer, but, bringing the media and the AV and working together has been really good for me. And I've seen some kids that I don't normally see. And I thought, and the talent is just amazing. And of course, using the skills and the experience that Chef Cortez has, and some of the skills and experience you have, that just a wonderful learning experience for me. I've always had the utmost respect for my colleagues, but even more so to see what we've been able to do and what you have done. The thing that I think is that as far as the FCCLA component, I think that needs to be more of the component, because it centers around family, community, and leadership, and competitive events.
Oh, yes.
So I think that may be where kind of, the kids loved competing in the 45-minute cooking thing, and then when they got a grand prize, they just loved it, and the audience loved it, and it was a step-by-step to get there, and some of them were so, glad they did it, and then some were like, oh, I wish I would have done it, And so, I wish I would have done it, and we're coming up on the end of the school year, and a lot of what I've been doing in my classes, reflecting back on the year in education and training, and some of the things that I always ask my students as they're presenting is, what would you do different? And if you could go back and tell a freshman, what would you tell them about doing these things? And I just hear it over and over and over again. I wish I would have been more involved.
Yeah.
And as CTE teachers, we get the data. We get the numbers and the research when we go to our teacher professional conferences about keeping kids involved, and how that is a deterrent to other activities. And as much as we've seen with our kids this year, the ones that stuck with it, that stayed with it, are achieving tremendous. I'm sure that some of them got awards the other night at the
yes.
at the show. The talented kids. I know our kids are winning scholarships. You know, they're getting ready to start their process for applications to college, and these are and certifications. And these are, you know, all grade levels. And I think initially when we were, again, back to the application, those are some of the things that I don't think we counted on. But they're wonderful benefits and side products or byproducts of this project. So I know that my students, you know, the ones that competed and did the show, and they just like, oh, can we do that again, Miss Corbell? I'm like, absolutely. Did you have any kids that kind of came to you?
Definitely. You know, I mean, I have students that I don't even have in my class.
I know. Wasn't that interesting?
How do I
It's like
get
they
in?
just came out of the woodworks. If you
How
build
do I
it, they
get
will
in?
come.
Exactly. How do I get into this class? What
Exactly.
do I do?
But
You know, and so those are
and
some
that's
of
also
the,
something we really didn't. I mean, we didn't do this as a recruiting tool, but I mean, we know that we need to recruit at times, but that
Yes.
was something that was
definitely-
really interesting.
Yeah. And so, you know, some of the things that I think also we want to work on for the future is just finding other activities that the kids are going to be into. I know Mr. H mentioned maybe doing like a tour of the Del Rio dining scene. You know,
Yes.
it's highlighting
that would be
some
fun.
of these local businesses that a lot of people, you know, go to or maybe have forgotten.
Yes.
Because there's a very rich history here in Del Rio that I think a lot of times we overlook. And as a transplant or an outsider, I mean, this is like an oasis for me. And so I think, you know, just looking for more ideas, because there's so much here in Del Rio that culturally we can bring out to light, that I think that, you know, this grant is going to really help us to push forward and to, you know, let people know this is what's really happening and this is what we can do as a community to make this fruitful.
Well, and I'm excited about the video and what you're going to do, because that's really going to get a lot of kids. It'll play,
Yes.
and so we don't even know who's going to see it. But so tell us a little bit about how that's going to happen.
As far as the shows, I mean, we're going to finish the whole production, because now because we have pre-production and production is the actual filming.
Right.
Now we're doing the post-production, getting all those videos together and all those things. And like you were saying, a lot of the students, they enjoyed doing it. I mean, they're excited about next school year, doing more projects and getting more involved and things like that. So once the community sees the videos, hopefully they see, I mean, so this is all.
Exactly.
And a lot of things that I think people overlook is when we watch videos, commercials, and all those are done by AV people. So, I mean, these students, I really encourage them, because a lot of the times...
And they're so visual.
Oh, yes.
You know, our kids are so visual. So all
Yes.
of this was just, I mean, we knew that it would be, Cooking with Culture show,
Yes.
but the visual part and who comes out, and they just love sitting there. It was hot.
So, I mean, throughout the whole process, I have to say that one of my favorite things was that I got to eat.
Me too. I loved it. My husband Bob loved it. All the kids, I mean, they were just whatever crumb was left.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the kids didn't do a bad job. Even the worst plate, or rather not the worst plate, but it's the one that got the lowest score, place 4, in
Yeah.
any of those episodes, were remarkable what those kids did with some of those ingredients.
Yep.
And it was a lot of work. It was hot. It was late. But yeah, we did get to eat.
Yes.
That we did get to eat.
Definitely. And that's always a good takeaway.
Yeah.
That is a good takeaway. From my end, I think my students have already been brainstorming. They want more of a competitive event that they're very well versed in competitive events. So there's a group of students that are already looking at how they can put together little mini events for the younger children in our community, and using some of the stuff that we've done so far, and applying again for the grant. And they're all excited, they're all in, and it would be something that they would work on, of course, some during class, but mostly after school. And I'm all in. I'm
yes.
excited.
I'm too.
It's been a lot of work, but we hope that you will enjoy our Cooking with Culture Season 1 and Season 2, and that your kids will look at maybe being a part of our wonderful CTE programs. And from our end, we want to thank you And I want to thank Chef Cortez for all of his time and talent, and Mr. Hurtado for all of his time and talent away from his family. And also thank all of our wonderful students, our custodians, our so many people that we need to thank, our secretaries that handled our paperwork, the kids that moved the furniture, the kids that just went from class to practice to putting on clothes to coming in, stepping in when someone couldn't do it, all the way back to the tamalada and our colleagues and friends at the casa who came out. It was late, but it was a wonderful night of eating tamales, and we all got to take some. So it's been, I truly, when you look at the word collaboration, you just really realize that it does take a lot of communication and a lot of good will and good intentions for doing something for kids so that they can learn in innovative ways and stretch the classroom out into their real lives. So we enjoyed it. We're going to do another year if we get funded, and we'll be back with more Cooking with Culture and CTE and the foundation. So thank you very much.